one time we were driving through the countryside, and we went into this shop. We just pulled in, to get little things for the road and everything. This guy was in there, his old French shop, and a dog on the floor. And the dog has a little sign next to him that says, "For sale, €5." And I thought, that's pretty strange. And I said, "Excuse me, monsieur, this dog is for sale for €5." He goes, "Yes, you can take the dog. €5, it's no problem." And then he went in the back to get some things. And the dog looked up and he said, it's really a good deal. I am a good deal. You should take me, because I have been through many things. I come from a very long line of dogs that has been here in Normandy. We were at the beaches, and my great-great-grandfather dog, and I know how to make cheese and wine, and I'm a very good French dog. And the guy came back out, and I said, I think I'll take the dog too, but I have to ask, why so cheap? And he's like, "This dog is not worth more than €5." And I said, "But he talks." And he says, "Yes, but he's a liar." So you guys know a bit about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit more, but I want to know a little bit about you guys. So can I ask who in here is doing copy, straight copywriter? Okay. And entrepreneur, your own business? Okay, and working for somebody else? What's it? The calluses, that's right. And who here is just in the wrong room this morning? What's that? For the timeshare meeting. Yes, we can talk about that. Right. Right, well, I'll have a contract you can sign. All right, great. Well, so we have the technical difficulty here. I do have another technical difficulty I'm just warning you of in case it comes up. I have had this bad cough for a while. I already know what it is, went to a doctor, I'm already taking stuff for it. However, if in the middle of the presentation I start coughing, you guys just look the other way and stuff, and then it'll be over. But I'm hoping that won't happen. So I hope my voice will hold out. I was watching that guy crawl across the football field in the video, and I was thinking, I gotta crawl across the football field here. I hope my voice makes it to the end of the day. So what else can I tell you? Tell me about some of the businesses that you guys are working in, so that we can just kind of refer back to them while we're talking. So who here is a entrepreneur? What do you do? All right, trained salespeople. How about you? Medical marketing. Help people with marketing. Small business lead gen. Who else has got something? Someone else tell me something else that's interesting that they fitness, personal development, physiotherapist. How many people are in health stuff? And in financial, anybody with financial products? Newsletters, any info publishing kind of stuff? I do mostly info publishing stuff with Agora. That's how I got my start. And I have done some health stuff, some travel stuff, but I think that what we're going to do here is going to apply across the board. So.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in.
Okay.
Grab this. While these guys, I apologize for the technical difficulties. These guys are fixing it. But let's kick it off so that we don't, so that we get rocking and rolling. And so I want to really make sure that everybody in the room knows how much of a special day today is. So for those of you who don't really know who John, or as I think his closest friends call him, Jack, is. So this is a guy that is really a legend in the world of direct response, and I don't say that lightly. He's been around since the very beginning of Agora. He was really, this is to show you who you're about to learn from today. So John was there. Jack was there at the very beginning of the creation of most of the copywriting training tools that are out there today. So things like, and you've heard me talk about how I learned the 4 U's from Mark Ford. Well, you know, Jack was there when that was being decided, when, you know, when they were thinking through, how do we train copywriters? How do we teach this skill? How do we develop these all-stars? What do we teach them? What do we show them? How do we turn these methodologies into a repeatable framework? This gentleman that you're going to learn from today was there and played a role in that. And since then, he's played a substantial role in the education of I mean, thousands and thousands of copywriters from around the world through AWAI. Of course, I believe that everybody in here knows that Jack co-authored, along with Mark Ford, no relation, one of the best marketing books or copywriting books on the planet, Great Leads. Every single one of you in here should read that. Jack is an amazing copywriter, an amazing writer. He is a guy that has seen the evolution of copy over the years as it relates to what things were like when generating sales and writing copy and headlines 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, as we've seen new media buying changes, copy with Facebook ads and whatnot. And he's continued to be the go-to teacher really on the planet as it relates to copywriting. He's the guy that really put the structure behind lead types and understanding their application and when they get used and when they're most appropriate and when they're not. He's really the guy that put that, he's the guy that put that together. And so all of you in here know how critically important the lead is. We're talking about the first 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 words of your marketing campaign. Right, and how the lead, the headline and lead and the offer make or break your campaign, make or break your promotion, make or break whether the thing that you launch makes money. You heard me say, I believe it was yesterday, that I've never, in all the years that I've been doing this, have I gone back and edited the first line of the 4th paragraph on the 3rd page or whatever, right? Because that's not a make or break component. It's not a piece that changes it's not a piece that swings big results. The lead is. You get the lead wrong and you could be dead in the water. You get it right and it makes everything else so much easier. You get the lead right and it makes everything else so much easier. And so what today is about is the guy that created the framework around leads, sharing with you what that needs to look like for you. Understanding the purpose and aim of the lead, understanding the different lead types, understanding the structure behind the different lead types, understanding when you want to use one versus the other, understanding what the different ones look like and how you can take an offer and use multiple lead types. And so the way this is going to go down, and then I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to turn this over to the man, is the first part of the day. We are going to all learn from Jack. I'm just as excited, if not more excited, than you guys to let him teach us what he knows about lead types. And so we're going to do that for the first part of the day. That's going to take us into lunch. And then after lunch, we're going to come back and we're going to have a kind of the boot camp aspect of today, where we are going to dissect, review, analyze, talk about your leads that were submitted. We're going to have, we're going to write some copy. We're going to look at the copy that was written. We're going to talk about it. We're going to rip it apart. We're going to show you where to change things, where to tweak things, where to enhance things. We're probably going to bring a couple of you up and show you what is involved in working with a client or product owner and extracting out all the nuggets and gems needed to be able to craft a compelling lead. And by the end of the day, my aim for you, our aim for you, is to make sure that you have a level of mastery as it relates to lead types. And so I would encourage you to ask whatever questions it is that you have. Don't sit back and yes, we're filming this. This is not a formal, this is, I got a question, help me understand. Make sure that you leave by the end of today and you've got all of your questions, all of your needs taken care of as it relates to leads. Is that fair? Yes? So do me a tremendous favor. Give this guy the reception that he deserves. Stand up and welcome Jack Ford.
Thank you. Okay. Can you guys tell me when you want to take, back there, you tell me when you want to take a break, okay? Because I don't know what's scheduled for a break. So we'll see what we can get through. Do you mind if I stand down here instead of standing up there? Is that all right? Okay. So it's just, since we've been waiting and everything, let's just jump right in. Okay, so what happens here? I'm going to show you some things, and I'm going to ask you some questions, all right? So here is a promotion. A lot of my samples that I used for this are actually print samples because they're ones that I happen to have scanned in, ready to go, but I think that they also help show things a little bit better than doing a VSL, so we don't have to sit here and watch somebody do a video. Because not all the VSLs have transcripts. So here's a promotion. Headline, you can see. I'll read that text underneath. It says, "It's the government loophole of a lifetime, a rarely published program that could pay you 550% more than regular Social Security. There are 5 easy ways to participate so you can begin collecting your checks immediately, no matter what your age, income, or job status." And you can see that other thing there says, from the New York Times, "The antidote to shrinking stock portfolios and tiny fixed income returns." And I'll just read the first line of this thing. "Dear reader, ordinary Social Security is a retirement ripoff. You pay thousands of dollars, et cetera, et cetera." Now, the lead, as Todd was just saying, the lead is that part at the front where you are trying to get people engaged enough that they say, okay, tell me more. So that may be 10 lines, it may be 100 lines, it may be 500, maybe a whole page, depending on how much you need to get those people to pay attention to you. So why did this work? And I'll repeat what you say or something so we can all hear it. Who has any idea why they think that this worked? It did work. Okay. Okay, so it's intellectually interesting. It raises your curiosity, right? That's one reason. Upper Social Security, you hear that thing and you're like, what is that? Okay, a loophole or a shortcut, right? Feels like something that you get a little bit of an edge on somebody else just by knowing. Right. Unique. It's something else. You haven't heard it before, that differentiation idea. Okay, here's another one. So this one says, "Sick of getting gouged when gas prices go up? How about a little gas pump revenge?" And then says underneath, "Thanks to a little-known loophole that Ronald Reagan signed into law back in 1986, any American can collect from today's 1086 gas pump payback plans. I'll show you how to receive up to 12 large payments per year with big oil indirectly footing the bill. Cover gas costs, fund your retirement, and more, et cetera, et cetera." Then it goes on to continue on that. Why did that work? Okay, it's a pain point being high gas prices. This actually went out when gas was around $5 a gallon. It's something that affects everyone. So it hits people, like you come in, and I know you probably drive, so, okay. little bit of that, the German, the Schadenfreude thing. It's like, yeah, I can get a dig at somebody that's been getting a dig at me. Anyone else? Okay, so another one, the curiosity is like, yeah, I want to know. You can bring somebody in, information gap. Okay, how about that one? Big Book of Free, laissez-faire's Big Book of Free. Over 127 ways to get what you want and need for free or for pennies on the dollar, which is on the book. And then underneath here it says, from playing free golf to claiming free gold, this complete manual has you covered. Find out why I'm giving away a limited number of copies today and how to claim yours before they're gone. I'll even pay for the shipping, et cetera, and the copy underneath goes on. Why'd this work? Curiosity, scarcity, limited number of copies. What else? It's free. It's free. I get something free. Right. Right. So and yeah, people like to get free stuff. Also, there's 127 ways to get stuff free. Information gap again. I don't know what those 127 ways are, but I feel like there's probably something in there for me. Okay. And just real quick, this one, myth or miracle, cholesterol, high blood pressure, things. These are basically natural remedies for these ailments. Can we guess why that one reason why that might have worked? Myth or miracle? Curiosity. Pain around the, so it's, yeah, so, well, or, okay, well, that's an interesting angle. So on the one hand, you've got common problems that they're hitting here. Cholesterol, high blood pressure, weight loss, and depression. Everybody in this room probably knows somebody who has addressed one of those or more, maybe even yourself. And there are shortcut ways to treat them, things that don't involve the doctors, things that aren't maybe not be as scary. And so you have a problem and then you have a solution, but then you also maybe that idea that people want that different angle, the curiosity angle. Okay, America 2020, Survival Blueprint. This is all that was on the cover of this. There was more that delivered on this on the inside. That's the actual lead, not just the headline. But why do we think that might have worked? Well, like fear, a little bit of fear. Blueprint makes it a little bit easier. And survival maybe implies that there's something coming. Right. Okay, how about this one? Develop a memory so powerful you're like a human computer. And I don't know if we need to read all the stuff underneath, but I promise you it's all about that idea. Why did that work? Who doesn't want to have a memory as good as a human computer? And the imagery of being the human computer, that puts something in your mind. It helps you make you imagine it. All right, we've got lots of theories about why these things work. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is an economist in a cave where they have to live on scraps with bones and things on the floor, and he's telling his wife, if you just keep harping on the bullshit results, you'll never be able to see what a perfectly sound economic theory it was. Okay. The thing about theories about why things work. Now, I think we could probably agree with probably some good ideas of why that stuff worked. But anybody who does direct response knows that just having theory isn't enough. You can't just you can't roll out on a whole campaign based on theory. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, and it's really expounding on something that Todd said in my introduction. A long, long time ago, in a galaxy that we're in right now, I was working at Agora Publishing as an intern. I was getting $15 a day, and I wanted to turn that into a job. I started writing articles and things like that. The company was really small. We had about 20, 25 employees, and it was, I think it was maybe doing 10, 15 million a year, and they had only one copywriter, and that copywriter was Bill Bonner. And it was getting increasingly difficult for him to write the promotions for this company that was growing slowly, and he was trying to figure that out. And at about the same time, an attractive young woman, there's always an attractive young woman, came by from the production department and said, "Hey, we're getting business cards. Do you want business cards?" And I was in my mid-20s, and I said, "Sure, business cards. I've never had business cards. I thought I'd be able to hand them out at happy hour, because I felt like that was what you were supposed to do. Didn't know what I was doing." And she got business cards and dropped them off like a week later when she was going around dropping off the business cards. And Bill saw that I had business cards, and he said, "Oh, John, business cards? It's so corporate. What do you want business cards for? That's, I didn't think that was your style." And I said, "Honestly, Bill, I got it because I wanted to hand them out at happy hour." And he said, "Well, that's the only respectable reason I can think of to get business cards, but what did you put down for your job?" And I said, "Copywriter," because I knew he was a copywriter, and I figured that's a prestigious position. So he said, "Oh, well, great. Move your desk into my office, and I'll teach you how to write copy." So he started trying to teach me how to write copy, which was basically handing me promotions like that and saying, "Read these and think about why they worked." And then I would write something, and then he would come and he'd cross it all off and say, "You should not use any of this. Maybe you can start there," or something. But he didn't really know how to teach how to do copy because there wasn't a lot of terminology. Plenty of books to read, and I did read all those books, and I'm sure you guys have read all those books. So we had to try to figure out how to teach me to write copy, and he was in the process of doing that for, I think, a year or so. And Mark Ford, who came along as a consultant. And then he had to figure out, well, Mark had a teaching background, so he said, "Listen, we got to sit down. We got to come up with a language to use to teach people how to write copy." And so we did. So we sat in a room, as Todd was saying, we sat in a room, and literally, I think Mark got a boardroom promotion. He put it on the table, and it said, he said, "Okay, these guys are really good at writing bullets. What is it that make bullets work?" And he started sifting through, and he's like, "Well, one of them is that, they're always something that's useful to somebody. And they're also really original, or they're unique, and they seem to be better when you get really specific, like ultra specific. And a lot of them have urgency, like something that you have to do right now." He said, "Well, that's good. That's 4 U's. Well, those are the 4 U's of writing bullets." It's like, let's add that to the list. Then we came up with the 4 P's, and we came up with the Barstool speaking theory of how copy is usually conversational. And then we came up with the 3-legged stool of the things that you need to have in copy. And we went through, we had a list, I think, of over 200 terms for teaching copy. So that way we were able to talk to people who train writers, but also talk to people who had products and say, "This is what works in copy. This is the secret to making it better." And when something didn't work, you say, "Well, you're lacking one of the essentials of the 3-legged stool," or something like that. So for a long time, we went around teaching that to people, and years went by. Agora grew. I had been the first copywriter at Agora. We now have, I have no idea how many at Agora, possibly in the hundreds. And we've trained many going through, and those 200 secrets became the core of a training course that some of you guys probably know already. Fast forward to a time when I was on a plane on my way to France, where Bill, Mark, and I were going to teach another crop of copywriters who were at Bill's Chateau about how to write copy. But by this time, we were sick of going through all those secrets and realizing that these guys were coming to the countryside. They're getting real drunk at night. They're coming in. They're really tired. There's no such thing as air conditioning in France, so they're in this hot chateau in the middle of the summer. And they're all kind of like passing out there, and you're teaching them these 200 things. We had to find a different way to try and make it more interesting and more simple. and just to try and focus on what counts, because that's what we felt like they would take home. So on the plane, I had read this article about movie plots, that there are only a certain number of movie plots, and that if you take all the Hollywood movies, you can categorize them in these movie plots. They're the Romeo and Juliet ones, the Beauty and the Beast ones, the force from somewhere else, like the alien from outer space, that kind of thing. And they all go through those things. Yet there have been hundreds, thousands of great movies, even though they all follow these same patterns. And I was talking to Mark, who was also a movie buff, on the way to the chateau from the train station. And I mentioned the article, and he said, that's kind of interesting. What if that was a kind of thing that we could do with promotions? We could figure out how promotions for almost any product that we can think of are going to fit into certain models, certain patterns. And so we got to the chateau, and it's funny how many of these stories involving Mark are like around a cigar and a bottle of something. We got a good bottle of French red wine, and Mark broke out one of his cigars. He broke out 2 cigars. I took 2 puffs and felt sick, and told him it was wasted on me. But and then we had a stack of promotions, print promotions, and we just started dividing them up. And I think we did that till about 3 o'clock in the morning. And then the next day, that's what we taught. We taught that there are, what we had found was 6 different lead types. And that's where the Great Leads book idea was born. The idea here is not that there are only 6 lead types. It's possible that there are other lead types. You can certainly probably find examples in your own different industries of other ways to get into a promotion, and you'll say, well, that doesn't really fit your model, and that's fine. And you're going to also see times where the lead types overlap. It's hard to tell, is that this type of lead or that type, and we'll talk about what the types are. Or they have 2 of the elements, 2 of the different lead types are all in one lead. That's fine too. The idea here is more like when you go to a restaurant, and that restaurant, whenever we go home to visit family in Philadelphia, my mother-in-law likes to go to this diner, and they have like a 10-page menu, and each page has like 50 items on it. So we inevitably spend the beginning just like flipping through, like trying to figure out. I mean, we always all get the same things that we always get every time we go there, but we read the stupid menu because there's so many damn choices. The idea here is to just try and narrow your choices. You're going to sit down, you're going to be working with a copywriter, you are a copywriter, and you're going to look at a product and you're going to say, this is that kind of product. This is the kind of audience I'm directing it to. Maybe this is the best place to start for a lead type. So it's just the idea here is to simplify what we're doing. And I just want to preview this as valuable because somebody pointed out to me that the book has listed at times on Amazon for $722.87. So it must be good advice. Actually, I think it was because it was out of print. But now I think you can get it on Kindle for like $9 or something. I bet if Rich Jeffrin was here, he could point out that I think that you can find it free on some Russian website that's pirated it too. Okay. We owe a huge, this is a name that I'm sure has come up over the last 3 days. I know it came up a lot yesterday because I heard it, and justifiably so. And we owe a large debt, Mark Ford and I, owe a large debt to Gene Schwartz in breakthrough advertising, which I do think if you only read one book, it should probably be breakthrough advertising. It is different from any copywriting. Like you read a copywriting book, how many pages of somebody telling you these are the magic words that you can use to persuade people? How much can you do that? Not too much, but Gene Schwartz thing is really something that teaches you about the business of persuasion inside out. So he has this great quote in here. Copy cannot create desire for a product. It can only take the hopes, dreams, fears, and desires that already exist in the hearts of millions of people and focus those already existing desires onto a particular product. This is the copywriter's task, not to create this mass desire, but to channel and direct it. I heard somebody saying, I think it was Todd actually, said it yesterday. Hugely important idea. You guys probably are advanced enough to already know that. But it's the kind of thing that you have to be reminded of. We are not taking a product and shoving it down somebody's throat. We're going out there and finding out what it is that they really care about, where they are, and we're bringing that to them and saying, look, if that's how you feel, I'm going to try and direct you. And this is what the leads are for. The leads are the opening mouth of that path, that funnel, that thing that brings those people in so that they can realize that maybe what they care about and what you have some kind of connection. So that's what we're trying to do with the leads. That's all that the lead is trying to do, is to get their attention and make them aware that you might have something that's a channel for their already existing desires. So Todd actually ran through a to-do list that's for today, that's the things that we hope to do. But I'm gonna do this a little bit again. So I'm gonna give you the 6 templates that we talked about. And you're going to know, I hope, by the end of the day, how to decide which ones you want to use and when you're going to use them, and with whom and what products. I'm going to talk about something that is the single biggest mistake in bad sales copy, plus how to fix it. I'm going to show you a 3-step process. It's very easy. That has made hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars worth of sales happen. And it's how you can get ideas, the big ideas that you use to sell. Hopefully we're going to write some copy, and we're going to try and simplify the whole process. So let's talk about the single big mistake that people make in copywriting. I'm tempted to explain every one of these cartoons that I stuck in there. I love Gary Larson. I miss him. All right. So here is a promotion. This is from years ago. I owe a credit on this to Lawrence Bernstein for his info marketing blog, because this was on his blog. Really good example, comparison. So here's another piece of copy. I'll just read some stuff to you. You just listen. So and then we'll talk about it. At the top, better vision revolution. Then it says underneath that, critical report for those with weak, failing eyesight and age-related eye problems. Then it says, your eyes are the windows to the world. With this astonishing European breakthrough, you can have eyes like a lynx, and then in parentheses, whose keen eyesight and day vision surpass that of an eagle. Then under that, can you think of anything more devastating than going blind? I'll jump underneath. Thousands of grateful customers swear by it. And then, are you ready to beat the poor vision bullet? And then it goes on. Okay. Good or bad? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Who's got thumbs up? Thumbs down. No thumbs. Many people with no thumbs. That's so sad. Who was the thumbs up? Okay, who was the thumbs down? Kitchen sink, I think it was, yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen to all this stuff in here. This thing about the links. Who here is going, I'm ashamed to say I don't know what a lynx is? Okay, it's a small, weird little cat that lives in the forest that has no tail and can have, like a bobcat, can have pointy tufts on its ears. So the person introduced with this astonishing breakthrough, you can have eyes like a lynx. Okay, pause sales pitch to go look up lynx in the encyclopedia, read a little bit about lynx, or if you're going on in Google, then you read about lynx, and then you start reading about bobcats, and then you read about bobcats, and you think about cougars. What are all the names for cougars in the United States? Oh boy, what are some of the other big cats? What cheetahs? They can't pull their claws in. That's amazing. Oh, all these animals. Eagles have eyesight. Do eagles versus lynx? Who has better eyesight? I mean, whoa. They actually have to teach you in the headline about the eagles and lynx. Lost opportunity. Your eyes are the windows to the world. What does that mean? For real. Okay, are you ready to beat the poor vision bullet? What does that mean? Are people getting shot in the eyes? Yes, that impedes your vision. It does. Okay, too much. Okay, this one is Gene Schwartz's. Your eyes can heal themselves. And I think I've been hit by the poor vision bullet because I can't read the type that's underneath either. But it's basically about, this was a very popular thing in the 70s, these eye exercises, I think, Bates eye exercises, they supposedly restore your vision. I think that's what this one was about. What's this about? Your eyes can heal themselves, okay? We don't know exactly what it is, but didn't we just open up that information gap? Don't we feel like we want to know? And if I am somebody, I have contact lenses and I see a lot of glasses in here. Aren't you curious? I'm curious. More curious about that than I am about lynx's eyeballs. Okay, here's another one. Never worry about your eyesight again, guaranteed. This is another one, more recent promotion. What's that about? Doctors, remarkable new natural solution means you'll never worry about your eyesight again, guaranteed. And then imagine no fear of failing eye health. Again, goes on. I'm not reading the leads to these things because that would be tedious, but again, is there any lack of clarity there, any misunderstanding of what that's about? Okay, this is probably the single biggest mistake that you see people make in copy. That they don't have one singular compelling idea. And I know that sounds like a head-smacking obvious thing to say. And maybe even some of you are out here saying, this is really kind of 101 basic stuff. But the thing is that this is what it comes down to, and with copywriters all the time. You'll see copy that comes in, and copy that comes in even from people who have been doing it for a long time, myself included, who get all excited about something, and they haven't pared the idea down to that one thing that's the most compelling, clear type of thing. When you're writing, anybody who's actually doing the copywriting knows that in your mind, it's that mess. I remember hearing that lynxes have really great eyesight. I remember hearing that, I don't know what, I still don't know who hears about windows to the world eyeballs, but that kind of thing. So it's your job as the writer or as the business owner to make sure that clarity is what is at the top of every promotion. And if you don't do that, everything else that we talk about today will be wasted. So you need to have a checklist thing going on throughout this. This is the idea of the power of one, meaning the power of one great, strong, big idea that can anchor the pitch and is clearly expressed. When I say anchor the pitch, one of those terms that we came up when I talked about that 200 secret lists that we had was the idea of the golden thread. Again, another kind of simple but very important secret that when you have this lead, when you have the headline and then you have the lead, that part that gets the people to go and say, tell me more, what you tell them has to be about that thing that you're telling them. How many people had the experience being at a party or something and they start telling a story, and then in the story they remember there's like another thing where the story can go, and then they start adding that in, and then it goes off on a tangent and they're like, wait, where was I? And then another time they tell that same story. I've done it, oh my God, if everybody who has known me for more than like 6 months says, oh my God, you're telling a John Ford story. Because I do that all the time. And then there are other times I'll tell the same story, but I will be more on point or something like that, and I'll deliver it, and it will work great. And usually it's because it sticks to that golden thread. It sticks to that thing that you put out front, and it's like you wrap the thread around it, and you pull it taut all the way through, right through to the close. So you can only do that if you have an idea that's strong enough to carry for some of these promotions that are going on for 16, 24, 40-something pages, or a VSL that's going to go for an hour. The End of America VSL was an hour and 20 minutes. And is the most successful, still the most successful VSL by far in the industry that I work in the financial publishing industry. They tried to cut it down. They removed like 35 minutes of it. And it cut the performance almost in half. That's incredible that somebody was able to keep that taut all the way through. But that's because they did not go off the path. So it's really what you're asking is, when you sit down to create the promotional campaign for something, probably, like I'm working on something right now. I'm working on the core promotion, but it's going to have a lot of these warm-up emails that are going to come out. And there's going to be a landing page where people sign up to go to a webinar, and then we're going to work to do the editorial that's going to be talking about it, and then some of the upsell copy on the other side. What happens is you work that out in the main promotion, and then you proliferate that out to everything else. So when you're talking about that landing page and where the theme is, yeah, that idea is the thread that runs through everything. So I know the punchline, I know the idea that's at the core, and I make sure it's in everything else. Is that okay? Okay, so but that creates a problem. When I say, what's the big idea? What is the big idea? What do you guys think the big idea is? What's a big idea? Who can define it? Okay, something emotionally stimulating and intellectually compelling. Anything else? Any other? Yeah. Okay. Something coming in a unique way? Okay, something truly different or new. I'm only doing this because I have a hard time editing myself, and also because there's a light bulb up there, and it reminds me. I went to this after college. I had no idea what I wanted to do, so of course I went back to school, and I went to this totally useless graduate program called St. John's College in Annapolis. Absolutely one of my most favorite educational experiences, except maybe like getting praised for making clay animals in kindergarten. This school was studying the great books and philosophy. And what we did was just sit around and have the great conversation, and we'd ask a lot of questions about an idea until we could figure out the nature of an idea. And I didn't realize at the time that I was training to be a copywriter, but there's a joke about St. John's students. So you say, how many St. John's students does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is, what do you mean by change? Okay, that's absolutely, and see, there's a guy going off the path. Okay, let's talk about what a big idea is. Just another couple quick examples. When Mark and I were trying to figure out the best way to teach people copy, he had seen this article about Sylvester Stallone, and Stallone said that the ideal movie script would like have one line of dialogue or something. And Mark said, what if we just get promotions up and we just hold them up in front of the crowd for like 8 hours and we say nothing? Just good promotions, they look at them, and by the time they're done, by osmosis, they know. So what is this promotion? What is this about? What's the big idea here? Retire overseas, enjoy a $1 million retirement on $600 a month. Is that hard to get? It's not. Is it appealing to people? Certainly people who want to retire and people who want to go overseas. Okay, here's another one. This was the most successful promotion before End of America, Plague of the Black Debt, by a guy named Lee Euler, lives here in Florida. How to Survive the Coming Depression. This came out at a time when we were really, really worried about a national debt that was like $2 trillion. I understand that we've solved that problem now, and I'm really glad. Okay. End of America, another big one. Pretty clear, pretty big idea, engaging, want us to go in. So what is it that's making those things work? All right, one of the things that you guys said that makes an idea, a big idea, is that it targets emotions, that it has some emotional aspect to it. Now, why is it that emotions, I know we all already know that emotions are better than reason when it comes to advertising. Why is that? All you have to do is think about when you are engaging with anybody. A lot of this stuff, by the way, is about figuring out how to make your business communications, your advertising, be more like what people experience in real life. When you are talking to somebody who's married, okay, I'm married. If my wife is upset about something and I don't respond with an equal amount of upsetment about what she is upset about, how is that received? Not too well. I mean, she can be really mad, and I would say, that's interesting. She'd be like, hey, what the what? She wants me to be as emotional as she is, and she wants my emotion to match her emotion. If she's excited about something and she tells me it's about something that's exciting, and I go, that's interesting. Okay, same problem. Different emotion, same problem. People want to connect. When they have an emotion, they are seeking a connection to another person who has that emotion, that they can share that emotion. They want that Me Too feeling, which used to mean something else before. They want to say, I know where you are. I feel your pain. That connects with people. That's why big ideas have to target emotions. You have to have something that shows people you understand how they feel, not just how they think, but how they feel. So, let's see where I go. Oh. Did I get, that's the next one. Yeah, that's the next one. All right. They also have, I'll get both of you guys. They also have to have an instant appeal. They don't need to be something that you need to work your way through. They can't be the kind of thing where you have to look up what a lynx is and whether its eyesight is better than an eagle's. You have to know it right away. It's got to be head-smacking obvious. This is in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink. This is the idea. This is like a pre-thought. If I have to spend any time at all unpacking what you're doing, that is a loss of momentum, which this often happens too. When you look at copy, somebody will have like a multi-layered thing. Well, if I set this up, then I can set that up, and then I can set up this thing that is my headline, and that works. But that doesn't work because people don't have the time to go through those steps. It's not that they're dumb. Some of them may be very smart, but for most people, they have a barrage of things coming at them, and they don't want to try and unpack your ideas for you. So it has to have an immediate appeal, immediate understanding. Read this or go broke. What's going to happen if I don't read that? I'm going to go broke. Right. You had a question.
Where I get a little confused sometimes is, you've got big idea, you've got lead, those two.
Right.
Especially when you get to, we do a lot of more of the marketing side, so we're telling stories and stuff like that.
Okay. Let me come back to that. Is the other question similar to that one? All right. The big idea is what the lead is built upon. So the big idea is inside that lead. But the big idea is you trying to find some, so that retire overseas example that we saw, or read this or go broke. the headline, "Read This or Go Broke," is based on somebody figuring out that there is some imminent threat that people haven't heard about. And this one's in the stock market. I don't remember what this was because this was back in the 90s. But that person is, I think this was, I'm trying to remember his name, Nick somebody who wrote this. Anyway, has figured out what it is that's going on in the stock market that has this urgency that he's going to develop in the rest of what is the actual lead. I mean, we're just doing the headlines here for expediency, but the big idea is what informs him what to write into the headline and into the lead. Okay. Tale of two men walking, lives diverged. Kind of. The big idea, okay, that's a better example. It's easier to unpack. The big idea there is that one little thing can make a big difference in the course of two similar lives, otherwise similar lives. Two similar men go down paths. One man's life is okay. It's modestly successful. The other one is a great success. What's the difference? One tool, which happens to be the Wall Street Journal. The big idea is about the one tool. Somebody says, how can we put that idea into a lead? Why don't we tell the story of two guys going down that path? And that's how that becomes a promotion. Make sense? Okay. I think it'll make more sense too as we go through. Yes. So let's move on. You look at everything. You look at everything. This is, if you ask yourself the question again about when you're in a relationship or when you're meeting friends, and you're trying to figure out who they are and connect with them, how do you know that they? Do you mean how I can read off face to face? I can read off their facial expressions. Is that what you mean? I think that again, it's going to boil down to figuring out that personal relationship. You would have to have a good understanding of what it's like to talk one-on-one with somebody who's a cancer patient and see them nodding as you're saying something, see them feeling a sense of relief wash over their face, and you read that off of them. We do that off of reading marketing reports in the after effect, but while you're creating this stuff, you have to go into that informed with as much of that kind of experience, that one-on-one experience, so that now you know every time I said that made the cancer patient feel better. I think you just have to listen to a lot more of those tracks until you feel it. If you're writing an ad and you can't feel excited about yourself, this is like character acting for an actor, somebody who goes and they just try and live that life and become that person because they want to feel what it's like to do that to inform what they do. Well, the copywriting experience or even the business building experience is a lot the same thing. A lot of the times you find in these businesses that the most successful ones come out of people who try to solve the same problem, so they understand it personally. Somebody who is writing copy is trying to understand the same problem. And I had somebody tell me one time how uncanny it was that when they would meet people who would come into a business on a certain copywriter's copy, those customers would almost have a personality profile that's very similar to the copywriters. And it's not accidental. It is an interpersonal connection. So really, if you are able to write about it well, write about it genuinely, it's because you truly understand how that person feels. Copywriting a lot of it is about empathy. I get that. I feel your pains, like we said before. Okay? Big ideas are original. Uh, okay, go ahead. I, th- I think that that's going to be a subjective answer. We're going to have to do that based on what kind of thing it is that you're selling and what that actual message is. There isn't a rule. Positive always works, negative always works. People might tell you one works better than the other. And there are scientific studies that somebody will say, but I've heard them, it's like whether eggs are bad for you or good for you in the morning. Do any of us know? I know I only read the ones that say eggs are good for me because I like eggs. But you can't really tell. Fear-based promotions work in some environments with some audiences and with some products, and the same goes on the positive side. No rules. Well, it depends on, that is also kind of subjective too, but there, I guess you could say the pattern interrupt where you're trying to get people to see something different happening is usually going to be somewhere up in the beginning. Headline or somewhere buried in the lead. So, all right, for instance, big ideas are original. The pattern interrupt is part of what makes something feel original. That's what differentiates it. It's like you go into a room and you just take one of the chairs there and you put it sideways on the floor. People are like, what's going on there? That's your pattern interrupt. Here, this is a thing outlawed for 41 years, now legal again. Okay, the investment launched the largest family fortune the world has ever seen, could return 665% in the next 12 months. Then it goes through and it talks about the Rothschilds and their wealth. Okay, so in there, what things are interrupting the pattern? Something that has been outlawed for 41 years that's a little jarring. What are you talking about? That something was outlawed, that it's so specific, 41 years, that kind of sets me off. And then that it opens, instead of talking about this great investment and telling me that I could take it and make 665%, it starts talking about this wealthy family that lived a couple of centuries ago. Okay, that interrupts the pattern. But this was talking about something to do with gold coins. How many gold coin promotions have been written and put out? Countless. Have any of them talked about the Rothschild family? Not that I know of. Maybe they did, but if they did, they didn't get put out there very well. Right. So the most cliched example is somebody would say, sex, now that I've got your attention. Yeah, I mean, that is like quintessential idiotic copywriting. There is no idea in that sex, now I've got your attention. There's nothing new and original about it. But if the idea itself is strong and different enough, yeah, which is the problem. Which is the problem with relying on gimmicks to make something, to make something, to get attention. If the gimmick doesn't have anything to do with what you're doing, then chances are it's not going to be sustaining enough. You could do that. You could get away with it. You know, the very first End of America thing just had a warning: this may not be suitable for all audiences and may offend some people. That was a gimmick kind of opening. That's like back when they used to put promotions in what looked like an airmail envelope or a FedEx envelope. But once they get past that, if you don't immediately go into something that's a solid, sustaining idea, then it's wasted time. You know what? I promise you we'll get to that. It's part of that 3-step process of coming up with ideas. Okay. So big ideas are often timely, so they've got to hit the market at the right time. This one is about the subprime time bomb that was ticking under Wall Street. Went on to talk about how the Wall Street was going to crash. This came out in late 2006, and worked fine. Probably would have worked better if we weren't so scared of the market that we'd waited till 2007 to put it out. But if we had put it out in 2008 or 2009, would it have worked? No, because everybody already knew about it. Okay. And if we had put it out in 2003, 2004, when everybody thought that real estate never crashes, it wouldn't work then either. Okay, so they have to land at the right time. You just flashed a coffee signal, but how much time? In 10 minutes, okay. Big ideas have momentum. So one of the things that Gene Schwartz talked about in his book about desire is that there is a tide of mass desire. So you definitely want to go out and hit what people care about, what they want to know more about, but you're even better off if you can do it at a time when everybody is feeling the same way. Everybody's moving in the same direction. I think that that's a pretty clear idea, but if you haven't read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, which came out a long time ago, but is really worth reading, he basically is talking about how you are riding on the top of it's like body surfing. You got to get in exactly the right time to ride on that wave. So the only way you can do that in a lot of these things is just being so hugely informed in what's going on in that market. Somebody asked something about naive new copywriters wanting to test things. They asked Joe Schriefer if they let new copywriters test things that they had already tried. I guess I forgot why I just started to say that. It's usually the cure for that, and I was kind of hoping that Joe would say, and he kind of did, is just information. Just show what he did. Say, show them the numbers, show them the promotion. They come up with an idea that we've done before. Have a good library and show it to them and say, that sounds like a good idea. That's what we thought when we did this one. Take a look. Anyway, a lot of answers to the questions of how do you know what that is simply just being totally immersed and seeing what's out there. Big ideas have depth. How many of you guys have read this astounding classic, How to Outsourcing Business for Profit Explained? How many have that thing practically memorized? Nobody. How about the 4-Hour Workweek? Have you heard of that? It's the same idea. This comes from Todd's book about big ideas. This is the same idea. The same thing is happening here in the 4-Hour Workweek. He's basically telling you to outsource your life. But he did a much better job of it than that other poor guy, Lama Jabber, or whoever it was. Okay, so depth. He's finding a way to add some profundity to that. He's finding a way to make people feel like, hey, there's a kind of a rich thing here. And when you start digging into stuff, David Ogilvy said that the single most important characteristic for a copywriter was, does anybody know? Curiosity. Is that the best copywriters are people who are hopelessly curious. You can dig in. If somebody said to somebody at a party, I was like, I'm really into outsourcing these days. That would probably not get a lot of attention from a lot of people. But when you start to talk to somebody about anything, you can usually find something that's fascinating about it, some aspect of it, some way to dimensionalize it and make it rich and interesting. And almost everything has those dimensions that are unexplored because when it presents itself, it's a little bit boring. But if you can find that aspect, so that's what it means when it's depth. You're looking for that way to dimensionalize it, making it interesting. And big ideas can be tightly expressed. So a lot of those examples that we saw have an idea that you can say just in a few words. This is like the elevator pitch or that thing where, how many people saw the movie The Player? Robert Altman movie. That's a great movie. You should see that movie if you haven't seen it. But it opens up with one of the longest straight shots, uninterrupted shots, that's ever been in a movie. And it pans around this Hollywood studio lot past the windows of these agents who are being pitched, or these executives are being pitched movie ideas by people who only have about 30 seconds of the agent's attention. So I think like you pass one and they're like, it's like The Graduate, but Mrs. Robinson is, I don't know, I forget that, so I was like, yeah, it's like The Graduate meets Pretty Woman. Now, I don't know what that movie is, but they're trying to say, here's an idea real fast. You know what this one is, you know what that is, let's pair it together, and to the executive, he knows right away what it means. Here, when doctors feel rotten, this is what they do. There's no lack of clarity there. It's instant appeal, but part of the reason it's got the instant appeal is because you can express it very quickly. Read This or Go Broke, The End of America. The idea at the top, the lead, and then what you deliver on below, it's got to be something that can be summed up really fast so the person can carry it around and think about it. I think, for the most part, when you do these lists, and even when you do the list that you'll see of the 6 lead types and all those other things, for the most part, you might not get all of them. Here, I wouldn't say that you have to slavishly have, like, if I don't have the 6, I don't have an idea. But a big idea is going to have most, if not all, of these aspects. And actually, if you read Todd's book, which I think, guys mind if I jump for this? Do you want this slide up for a second? Okay. If you read Todd's book, what I think, and Todd can confirm this or not, what he actually has, he has a list of 10 or 11 aspects of a big idea, and these are actually in there. I had written these down years ago in a Copywriters Roundtable article, and then I was reading Todd's book, and I was like, hey, this is my list. But it's not my list. It's the list of what makes big ideas work. Because people who have looked at it notice that this is what they do. And he adds more, which I think also work in the aspects of stuff that you got from Mark. But you should take a look at Todd's book, because it has a good discussion of each of these same items. In fact, the 4-hour work week one and outsourcing thing, that is Todd's. I think I mentioned that. Okay, so you remember the example that was up? The 4-hour work week plus the outsourcing? Okay, outsourcing sounds like a kind of a dry, unexplorable topic. Right. The 4-hour work week, now I want to know, first of all, I've never heard anybody use that term about a 4-hour work week, but it engages me because I think I wouldn't mind only working 4 hours a week. You start to feel like there's something else. There's a richness to it. You feel like there's a backstory. Okay. Can I switch this away? Let's see. Yeah. Do we have time to squeeze this part in? I think there's a natural break after I talk about this, so all right. Okay, so how do you get those bigger ideas? How do you get a big idea? It's difficult. It's difficult. One of the things is research. Another thing is, I have some slides up that are after this, but research. Another thing is just the pure value of chaos, of people colliding, walking around. I mean, I was just saying to Damien that I was in Rich Sheffron's thing. That great presentation he did about AI and all that other stuff was really terrific. I saw stuff in there that I would not have seen if I hadn't gone to the thing yesterday, that I'm going to use in a promotion that I'm working on that happens to be only a little bit loosely related, but some of those slides he had up there are perfect for what I want to say. And I also think that I can write a promotion for one of our technology letters based on the great resets of history. The 4 great resets. I think I actually counted that AI would be the 5th. So the 5th great reset. I'm thinking that I might just have a big reset button as the graphic. I don't know how it's going to work. Anyway, you're crossing paths with people when you have ideas. Okay, so that's another way to do it. This, though, I think is probably the most important part about how to get ideas. Who's that guy? That's us. That's the guy who's had that feeling. So like you got your head on the pillow, you're exhausted, it's been a long day, you put your head down, then all of a sudden you're going, oh my God, that doctor's appointment on Thursday, I really hope this cough isn't anything serious. I really hope it isn't. Because, oh my God, somebody so-and-so didn't think they had a serious cough and pushing up daisies now. Or, oh, I hope that thing at work goes well. Or, oh my God, my wife is there on the other pillow and we haven't been intimate for, 2 weeks or something. Am I fat? I don't know. You're going through these stupid ideas and they all come right at exactly the moment when you're perfectly equipped to deal with them, right? You're in a t-shirt and boxer shorts or something like that. That's when you're going to spring out of bed and do something, right? Or the other way around. You're really so excited about something, you want to go get started on it now. You want to go look it up. You think it's going to work out really well. Okay, that's where everything starts. Doesn't matter what you sell, because your customer is that guy who has that on his mind, or has it on her mind, to such a degree that they are primed for your message. So that's where you start. I used to, when I got over to Paris, I used to use a friend's office because we had a smaller apartment and then soon had a young baby in the smaller apartment. Couldn't work at home, really. So I used space at this friend's office, and she said, in exchange, you don't have to pay rent or anything for it, but would you sit in on our marketing meetings and just help us generate some ideas? And I said, yeah, sure. And she would come in, and they would get out their spreadsheets and everything, and she'd say, so these are expenses that we have to meet this month, and this is how much we have to make, and how much should we charge for this item because this is how much we have to make. And then they'd go on and talk about the spreadsheet, whatever, for 10, 15 minutes, and then she'd say, well, what do you think? And I said, I think you just wasted about 15 minutes, because what about the person that you're selling stuff to? What do they want to buy? If you don't figure that out, you're not going to answer any of these other questions. So that is where you start. You start with that guy. Okay. How many of you guys are on Agora Financial's copy calls on Tuesday? All right. So you heard Todd talk about the web analysis, right? So that was what was the E, Todd, in web analysis? Emotions and beliefs, right? Emotions, okay. This is, I think, kind of another way to look at the same thing. Okay, so you're looking at these guys. You have to ask yourself, one of the things you have to ask yourself is, what do they believe? What do they already believe? Who here goes online and finds themselves wasting time trying to save the world in internet forums? Because I know I do. I had a membership in Discus. That's like a thing that you sign up for lots of different forums. I was wasting so much effing time on forums trying to teach some schlub what was wrong with the world, with his world, or what problem he was creating in it, that I actually went to the change your password page on Discus and put the thing in the type in your new password, and then I closed my eyes and went like this, and then hit return so that I could never log into Discus again. It's a waste of time to try and take somebody's beliefs and turn them into some other beliefs. This is what Eugene Schwartz was saying at the beginning. We are channeling a desire. We are not creating it. Okay, you've got to go to understand what they believe, and you've got to speak within that context. You cannot convince them of something else. So you have to ask yourself, what do they believe? All right, what do they desire? What are their wants and needs? Specifically, especially, what are their wants? Because we're not always so wise about what we actually need. Do we all need the new iPhone? Probably not. Do we want it? I do. I mean, I think you all have this experience in your own lives. So what do they want and need? Because if you're not going to talk about the thing that they want, then they are not going to be that interested in what you have to offer. Okay? And identifications, this is a big one. How your prospect craves to be or feel. So who here hasn't seen a before and after picture in an ad, especially in the health ads? Some of you guys know health stuff. Why do before and after pictures work? Because we look at it and go, that's me in the before one. That's what I want to feel like or look like in the after. That's what that is. So you think about identifications. How does your prospect think of themselves? Because if you don't treat them like the way that they secretly feel inside about themselves, sometimes they're not self-aware of this, how they identify themselves. They haven't sat down to figure out the time, who am I? But if you don't speak to them in a way that fits with their own image of who they are, then they're not going to feel like you understand them. And you have to also offer them something to be. That's why when you have a protagonist that's in a promotion, if you have somebody who is the business owner who has succeeded or the testimonial that's really worked out, they're looking at that person saying, I want to be that person. That's the identification. Well, I think that the political, right now, the heated political environment we're in is actually a pretty good example. So if you want to figure it out, you just go into a forum, find somebody who doesn't believe what you believe, and try and change their mind. You're not going to be able to do that. But say you go in, for instance, right now, I'm hearing from all these Facebook connections from people I went to high school with. I haven't seen them for decades. And we don't share the same beliefs. But they were friends in high school. There's no reason they can't be friends now. Well, because I have a connection with them, I speak to them differently than I would with some guy that I have no idea who he is, who feels entitled to hurl insults and things like that at me, make judgments about me. We tend to channel those people that we want to help have agree with us by understanding a little bit about what they say. It's like, well, you have a good point there. And you repeat that back to them. Oh, yeah, I can kind of see that. And then you might say to them, what if, though, we injected this situation or that situation? So you're just kind of easing them through it. That would be channeling somebody toward, I guess, a belief that's a little bit different from what they have. You know, you can do that in editorial. You can do that in a relationship that you've had ongoing for a long time. I think that when you're going out to market something, you don't want to be out there trying to look for the people whose minds you're going to change, because you don't have that relationship with them. You don't have that luxury to go and work those angles. They don't trust you enough yet to care about you before caring about what it is that you're saying. Let's move. We have one more question, and we're going to take a break, and we can talk on the break. All right. Okay. All right. All right, maybe this be the last. I think this might be a good slide after this slide. Okay, e-motivations, that's a little bit of a corny term that I just stuck up there when I was typing it, but the reason I did is because when people have motivations, they might think that they have reasons, rational reasons, and the easy things to grab about why they do things. So why somebody might be motivated to start a business, build a nest egg, be famous, lose weight, take vitamins, etc. Those are the superficial things. We could say, what do you want to do? I want to start a business. Then you start peeling back the onion. Why do you really want to start the business? What's your motivation for starting a business? If I put out a promotion based on these, I'm probably going to put out how to start a business, which vitamins to take, how to lose weight. You might get appeal from some people. You might get someone who's really ready to go on that kind of thing, but you're unlikely to get a kind of a viral message that's going to grab people. But there are real things beneath those, secondary motivations. So starting a business might be somebody who wants to take control over their own life. You think of that motivational speech that Todd gave at the end of yesterday. That is about somebody seizing an opportunity because it's there for them to seize. Not anybody to give it to you, not anybody to I don't know, coddle you through it or let you ride their coattails. You have to do it. There are people out there who feel the same way, who want to have ownership of their lives. That's why they start a business. So your promotion is going to talk to that emotion rather than just talking about that superficial thing. Building a nest egg might be about somebody being afraid that they're not going to have enough money to live another 20 years after they retire, or that their spouse won't have enough money when they're gone. Why do people want to be famous? You know, when you ask children, Ricky Gervais went and he was asking kids what they wanted to be when they grew up. You know, and they used to be firemen or God forbid, president. Now they just want to be famous. I want to be famous. What does that mean? Of course we know it's pointless, but what is that impulse to be famous? People want to be respected and they want to be loved. They want acceptance. Okay, so all these things that are under here, they're just guesses, better guesses at the emotional motivation that you would get at when you start studying and talking to people. And you were asking about those cancer patients, how you understand that you're connecting with them. When you start hearing those tapes and you start meeting with those people, you start figuring out what it is, what are they really, with cancer patients, what are they really scared of? It's simple to say they're probably scared of dying. Then you talk to them for a while and you find out they might be scared of pain. They might be vain and scared of losing their hair. They might be afraid for their family members, that their family members can't handle the grief that's coming. They might be afraid of not having a belief system that they feel like they should reconnect with, or anything, or understanding their disease. But you can only get to that by digging and talking and finding out, being empathetic, getting inside that person's skin and figuring out where they are. But those are those motivations. Those are the things that when we get to the leads, those are the things that are going to make them work. Oh, all right, I got to do this one before we break. Okay, I promise you guys a 3-step method for getting an idea. It is really simple. This comes from Mike Palmer, amazing copywriter, guy who mostly wrote The End of America, depending on who you talk to. If you ask Mike, he said there were a lot of inputs. If you ask Porter, he said Mike did it on his own. But anyway, this is what he says that they do at the Stansberry Publishing Group, which of course has had a lot of success. They start with that guy on the pillow with his eyes wide open. What's keeping him up at night? What does he care about? They're not talking about the product. They're not saying, what am I selling? How much of it do I have to sell? Et cetera. How much does it cost? That comes later. They're talking about the guy who's got something that he really cares about. Then you say, what's the hottest selling solution for that? What does everybody else sell into that guy? What else is he buying? What does he care about? I'm going down and looking at the bestseller list on the wall or now on Amazon. What do I hear people talking about? What are they responding to? I probably want to do something that's in tune with that. But I can't stop there, because if I'm just in tune with it, I'm just going to be another voice in the chorus. What's the story that nobody else is telling? So that's when you go, now what's the twist? How can I find a way to retell that story? So that outlawed for 41 years, now legal again, came out at a time when lots of people were interested in buying gold and gold coins. And he said, what's that person worried about? They're worried about the fate of the dollar and things that are not based in hard assets. Okay, so I'm going to sell something that has to do with hard assets. What is everybody else selling? They're all selling gold coins. That's a new thing where you get not just the value of the gold, but maybe some kind of added value to the fact that the coin might be from a different place or different time in history. Maybe adds a value to it. But if I go out with another gold coin promo, I'm going to sound like everybody else. So what's the twist? That's where it gets outlawed for 41 years. Okay. So if you sit down and you're trying to figure out your ideas for any business, this will work for you. It will put stuff on the table that you can work with. It will give you a big idea. It might not give you the headline right away, or it might. but it will at least give you that clay that you can work with. All right, why don't we skip these? I'm just going to put all three of these were income promotions. You saw the other one earlier. That was about collecting dividend checks from MLPs, master limited partnerships that usually do oil pipelines. That one was about a drip thing where you reinvest your dividends. And that one, I don't even remember what it was about, but it was another income promotion. 3 different ways into the same idea. So little twists on the same idea. There is recommendation for Todd's book, which I think you said you can get on Kindle, or that Russian website that that Pirates Books. Technique for producing ideas is like 60 pages. You can fit it in your pocket. You can read it in half an hour. It's by a guy who worked at an ad agency. It's just basically about the brainstorming process. And it's worth reading just because it's so short, but basically what it says is fill your brain up with as much as you can from as many different resources as you can. Go for a walk, take a shower, go back and start talking about with people who aren't going to shoot down every idea in the beginning. Okay, so that's basically what it says. But it's much more inspirational than that. These, if you like reading more deeply, don't get into consumer mode where you get lost into reading too many books without, like, if you can't just read books about ideas and then hope to have ideas. You gotta. But I do think the psychology of it is fascinating. These are 2 great ones. Stephen Johnson's Where Good Ideas Come From, and Creativity Inc., which is about Pixar and how Pixar comes up with ideas. You heard Clayton talk about how to tell stories and things like that. A lot of great stuff in both of those, very fascinating reads. All right, let's take a coffee break, and then I promise you'll actually hear some lead types when we come back.